Hi again, everyone. I'm re-recording this episode after accidentally deleting it from the podcast universe, aka Anchor, who I am mentioning under my own volition and not because they sponsor us or anything. Just kidding. Go record a podcast on Anchor because it really is an awesome format that helps distribute all of our episodes and finds a sponsorship to go with it. Anyways, on to the show. Welcome, everyone, to the newest show on the Nerdcore's podcast feed, Unstructured with YoungYoda. You may have previously tuned in to what was called The Germ Show, where I talked about stupid news stories. Unfortunately, I felt I had boxed myself in talking about stupid people doing stupid things and did not enjoy it to the extent that I thought I would. But I'm back and I've got a new show where I have free reign to talk about topics from shows Raul absolutely refuses to watch because he lacks the taste needed for that 80s big hair culture, or even bringing back an episode here or there where I do bring up the stupid that plagues our society. Anyways, this is episode 1 of Uncultured, titled Fucking Magnets, How Do They Work? A spoiler review of Stranger Things Season 3. Again, as fair warning, we are entering spoiler territory. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Alright, we see the season of Stranger Things open up during the summer of 1985. Love is in full bloom with the couples. Mike and Eleven, who for 3 episodes can't stop playing tonsil hockey, which luckily Hopper and Max eventually put a stop to before we all gagged to death. We see Nancy and Jonathan working for the local paper, with Jonathan staying holed up in a dark room, or Nancy is subjected to male chauvinism that would make Mad Men look like a normal work environment. I'd hope Nancy would have taken the energy to shove a sandwich down Bruce's throat sideways, but unfortunately we never did get to see that scene. Maybe in an extra bonus cut or something. By the way, Bruce is played by Jake Busey, the son of Gary Busey. Yes, that Gary Busey. So we already know he can flip that crazy energy on. Max and Lucas basically just break up, make up, and bicker at each other for most of this season. So, not much growth in that area. Hopper and Joyce still don't fuck, and the tension is real, y'all. Mostly because Joyce is more interested in why her magnets keep falling off her fridge instead of having a bottle of Chianti with Hopper. Dustin has what we think is an imaginary girlfriend named Susie, until like the last episode where they reconnect and perform a duet of a song straight out of the Never-Ending Story, and oh boy was it epic. It was something. And then there's Will, who's just the sad boy of the bunch, who only wants to play D&D with his friends in some pimped-out wizard robes and won't take no for an answer. Now to probably everyone's favorite couple, who is not a couple, but are just friends. This, of course, being Steve and Robin being played by Maya Hawke, who is an outstanding, older, smarter, strong female lead we've all wanted. Also, she plays off the cute ineptitude of Steve and Dustin perfectly. With Lucas's sister Erica thrown in the mix, this season became most enjoyable when their storyline of infiltrating a subterranean Russian base under the local mall was the main focus. Even before that, I thought it was pure comedy gold to have the once cool kid of high school wearing a sailor hat while serving ice cream and getting shot down by every woman in town. Now, this may be due to the outlandishness of the whole situation, or it's generally nice to see that there was another enemy that was not part of the Upside Down. In my opinion, Season 1 was written in much the same way, where Brenner and his lab were far more villainous than anything that came out of another dimension. Also, we have seen the Mind Flayer multiple times throughout this show's run, so we know what to expect and how powerful it could be, which doesn't mean it's boring to watch 11 mind, ground, and pound a body snatch Billy, but it's not as interesting as the other storylines. Seeing Hopper and Joyce fight with the Russian Terminator, kidnap a willing Russian scientist while he wants a cherry slushie from Burger King, and then get shit talked to by a 10-year-old is just more interesting than seeing Eleven save her friends for the millionth time. Speaking of Billy, his character arc is handled perfectly in this season. As an antagonist and overall douchebag, who is more of a background character than anything, we see him ultimately sacrifice himself to save Eleven after being manipulated by the Mind Flayer to do unspeakable shit for the whole of this season. Thankfully, Mike's MILF of mom is now finally safe. Now that I brought up one sacrifice, I have to bring up the one that truly hurts, but the showrunners might have swerved us a bit. I am, of course, talking about our favorite liquored-up local cop, Hopper. He beats asshole mayors for information, flings Russian Terminators into world-ending machines with abandon, and cockblocks Mike into lying to Eleven, and as we all know, friends don't lie. Especially boyfriends. What an asshole. Now, as with any Netflix show, I have to say, if you didn't see them die, then they're not necessarily dead. And this is where the Season 4 cliffhanger leaves us. Joyce ultimately destroys the Russian Rave Ray, and Hopper has vanished from existence. To when, we don't know. To where, there is an indication that the Russians have her man. Still, though, if that letter he wrote to talk with Mike and 11 didn't make you a little teary-eyed, then you really have no soul. Before I get into my thoughts on what I think will happen in Season 4, let me put some of the highlights of Season 3 I enjoyed, and where I think the show fell flat. 1. The Russian storyline was the main highlight of the season for me. Throwing a Cold War nostalgia credit into the mix helped give the show more of that adventure feel. We see Joyce and Hopper running from the Russian Terminator as Dustin, Steve, Robin, and Erica stumble into the Tower of Terror elevator and get flung right into the heart of everything. It's an over-the-top, zany, fun ride, and it allows characters to have to focus on something other than shithead brothers and mind control monsters. 2. Maya Hawke's Robin character. As I said before, this is the smart, strong, independent woman that's not Winona Ryder this show needed, and more so, who Steve needed. Steve has always been there to watch over Dustin, Mike, Lucas, Levin, and Will, and his character's bromance with Dustin has always been fun to watch, but now he has someone who can watch his back and help keep the Demogorgon's heffalumps at bay. And my third favorite thing is Billy's arc. In the previous season, we saw Billy as only a meathead who was there as eye candy for the neighborhood moms. This season really turned that around. By allowing Levin to see, and therefore us to see, his backstory, it gave him much needed depth. Dacre Montgomery gives an outstanding performance. A character for who I didn't give much of a shit for before made me care in this season. And his sacrifice was felt, I'm sure, by not only me, but by most of those who binged this show. Okay, now on to my dislikes. Number 1, Jonathan and Nancy's story felt unnecessary to me. When all the other character stories seemed to have so much more detail and thought put into them, their storyline was kind of just there, and to me didn't really impact on how any of this season played out. Number 2, for a show that has always followed the group of Levin, Mike, Lucas, Dustin, and Will, this season seemed to have very minimal instances where they were all together. Each seemed to go their individual ways. Mike and 11 are in the middle of running off to Swap Spit throughout the beginning of the season, and after Hopper's talk, Mike avoids 11 for very much the rest of the season. Will is kind of just there for everyone to ignore. Dustin is trying to get his antenna made of popsicle sticks, Velveeta packaging, and chicken wire to put in a call to his infamous girlfriend, hotter than Phoebe Cates, Susie, and having no success to the point where everyone just leaves him and he falls back into the loving arms of his bro Steve. Anytime Lucas is on screen, it's either to ignore Will, bicker with Max, or complain to Mike. For a show that started off with a semblance of the Goonies and Stand By Me, it's appearing that we're headed to Operation Solo Dolo. Maybe this growing part is just them growing up and finding who they are as individuals. In any case, I miss our main group of misfits causing mayhem together. And now, on to my Season 4 theories. Number 1, Hopper ain't dead. He's just stuck in a Russian prison. How he got there is beyond me. Teleportation, time travel, a DeLorean, hell if I know. All I know is that there wasn't a body, and if there's not a body, then there's not a dead Hopper. 2, the Russians are working to weaponize the Upside Down. The American government now knows of this. I think that we may see a Season 4 that's basically an arms race. So we'll see our groups of misfits head to Russia to rescue Hopper. More than likely, we'll see multiple portals being opened to the Upside Down, as both Russia and America each work towards having the upper hand, and that means an army of creatures from James Wan's nightmares. 2A, a tag on to my last theory. The American government, after investigating why a Russian subterranean base exists under a mall and finding evidence of weird shit, will stumble upon 11 as being such a strong telekinetic that she continuously stomps anything the Upside Down throws at her, and will either try to weaponize her for their purposes or get back to experimenting on her. The loss of her powers may help keep her safe in this regards, but I don't see those powers being lost forever. 3, Brenner will be a main villain in Season 4, either working with / for the Russians to continue his experiments, and he may be the catalyst that causes 11's powers to return to her. And those are my thoughts on Season 3. If you liked or even disliked what you heard, be sure to leave a rate and review on whatever podcast platform you're hearing me on. Now for some housekeeping. You can find me on Twitter at randomgerm101, but I would much prefer you give a follow to at the _, which hosts this show and other great shows such as the Ladies and Nerdcores and the Impaired Files. Follow us on Instagram at the Nerdcores. If you'd like to get this episode early or even get some extra goodies, be sure to sign up on Patreon at www.patreon.com/thenerdcores. With tiers starting as low as $1, you can help support this show and all the other shows in the upgrading of equipment and possibly even one day providing live commentary at conventions. Be sure to follow our executive producers, Grayson Barker, a.k.a. at Warlord Hitman 98 on Twitter. Thank you, Grayson. You've been the OG executive producer for so long, and we truly appreciate it. Our friend Journey at IceMocha_Journ, Journ, on Twitter. And also, last but not least, Shane at twitch.tv/SRRKK, or follow his Twitter at SRRKKTwitch. If you'd like to hear more from me, you can find me on the Nerd Cores and the Gamer Cores as co-host throughout the week. As this show is called Unstructured, I have not determined what episode 2 will be about. I already did episode 2 since this is a re-recorded as I deleted everything, so it's already out, so I kind of know what it's about, but just go listen to it. All right, thanks, guys. But I assure you, there will be more of me talking to a microphone. Thank you all for listening. Have a great and safe night, and let go my ego. YoungYoda out.